Buddy Eric Dorward here at the Spartan Rocketry Club, and it is time to finally finish off my rebuild here of the Estes Sentinel model rocket. So I did get the rest of the decals attached. I did find the missing decals, this one and its partner. They were, they were on the floor. They fell off my table, which is kind of embarrassing, but I did find them. If I would have found them earlier, the ones that say lift here really should be in line with all of these decals, but honestly, it's not that big of a deal in the long run. Ultimately, I got them together pretty nicely. They seem to be pretty well in line, and then I clear coated it. Everything seems to be pretty well in place. The pinstriping here is a little bit, it's a little uneven, but that's not bad. And the one spot, where is it? Right here, where the one decal was kind of lifting off, seems alright. It looks pretty flat. So overall, pretty pleased. There isn't really much left to do with this. I have my parachute, so I'm going to deal with that. And then I need to just connect everything. So this should go pretty quickly. Here we have a fishing barrel, a swivel that I like to use on my parachutes. Typically I use a slightly smaller one, but this nice little pack came with a variety of sizes. And I don't use the bigger ones all that often because I typically don't need them. But since I went with this nice nylon parachute, the threads are thicker, so I'm going to have a little choice but to break out one of the bigger ones. So I'm going to gather up all the threads. Now, because these are stitched, that plastic Estes kits these days, parachutes, they have one that goes directly across instead of what I have here, so that's fine. I mean, it doesn't make much of a difference. The only real problem is that these are going to get crossed a little tiny bit when I gather them up. That is unavoidable, unfortunately, and also not that big a deal. So I'm going to gather them up. This is going to be a fairly tight fit, but I've actually used these for much thicker gauge nylon, so this shouldn't be too bad. So that wasn't too bad, and then I'm just going to push up, pull tight, and that's in place. This is actually, aside from the fact that it allows the parachute, the rocket, to spin independently of the parachute on the way down, this also does make it nice to do like hot swaps. So this is a nice chute. I might want to use it on things other than this kit, and if I were to actually just tie it in, then that would be a little bit more of a problem. This way I can just unclasp and everything's good to go. Alright, so if you recall, I've had the shock cord that I'm using, this Kevlar thread, stuffed in there for quite some time because I haven't actually needed or wanted it. Now I do need it. So the clasp, this is a fairly thick bit of plastic here, so this might be a little difficult to get clasped. It went over pretty well, and yeah, it's fine, no problem. The Kevlar thread, then, I'm just going to tie as per usual, and I'm going to make multiple passes at this. Again, as per usual. The downside to this stuff is that it doesn't grip all that well. In my experience, the elastic bands that most Estes kits come with, they seem to hold better. The knots seem to hold a little bit better. So I'm going to put a lot of pressure on these to tighten up the knot because it's just the way the cord, the feel of it, just doesn't seem to grip as well. It is kind of, I'm not entirely sure how to describe it. It's not waxy exactly. It's a little smooth. It's just part of the construction, I think. So that might be part of it too. I'm going to end up just doing 4 overhand knots in here, and that, this is something that I do want to keep an eye on, but that should be pretty good. Now, if you want, you could put a dab of glue in here to try to hold the knot together, wood glue or otherwise. I think I'm going to forego that, but like I said, I am going to keep an eye on this. If it starts to untether at some point, untie itself, that could be a problem. But it's going to be a while Right, 4 knots in it. This should hold for a while before things get ugly. So that's great. This is basically done. There's nothing else to do for once. Usually there are a couple things I need to do in this last video, but that was it, since I already had this thread in place. Now, one potential downside to using just the thread is that you run the risk of damaging the tube here. So when the chute pops, there's a good chance that it could drive the cord into the tube like this. And that could cut it, it could damage it, it could cause zippering, we usually call it, because the spiral of the tube starts to like unravel. That's a possibility. If you're concerned about that, then don't use all thread. You could use a little bit of thread and then use elastic, because the elastic is usually wider and it gives more, right, than this thread. So you could use that instead. It would minimize the impact. So you could do a hybrid of the two. So that's an option. The other thing you could do is you could get yourself just a piece of paper and glue it on the inside of this. You could use CA glue, a thin, very thin CA viscosity on that to reinforce right around the edge. So that's an option. I think for the time being, I'm not going to do either of those. Well, I'm obviously not going to use the elastic because the ship sailed on that one, pretty much. But I don't think I'm too worried about putting in the reinforcement. But remember, the tube was a little bit damaged right here. It's still a little kind of chewed up. So something to keep your eye on, but for the time being, I think it'll be fine. The paper reinforcement is something you can do after the fact if it becomes necessary. Alright, so that's it. I'm going to pack this up quickly, just because I can, might as well. And then it'll be nice for my, it'll be ready for my display. So I'm going to fold things up here, just have the parachute, and then have it again, have it another time, keep having it down until you've got a manageable size. Like, that's probably about right, although I really do not want all the shroud lines there wrapped up inside, at least not for now. You can, if you really care about it, you can protect these inside the chute by kind of coiling them up and then wrapping the chute around, but I'm not going to bother with that. I very rarely worry about that. For now, I'm just going to fold this in half, kind of roll it up a little bit, and then loosely gather the shroud lines around it. And that should be good. Into the chute, into the tube rather it goes. And then all this thread, and we have a lot of this. Really is very hard to have too much shock cord, so that's good. Into the tube. And alright, get in there, cord. That's one of the downsides, I guess. It's kind of annoying to pack, but whatever. That should... come on. It does have like a memory. The cord too does have kind of like a memory. It wants to go back into the way it was coiled on the coil, on the spindle of thread. So that's part of what's, there we go, part of what's holding things up here. Alright, lovely. Oh, by the way, I did check. These are 3/16 launch lugs. Doesn't really make much of a difference for this rocket, but it is nice to have 3/16. Gives you a little bit longer launch rod to deal with, a little sturdier rod. The only downside I've seen is that the rod, I've had rockets get stuck on the 3/16 rod on occasion, because I don't know, they're closer millage to the launch lugs. I don't know. You could always launch this off of 1/8 too, although if you have a 3/16, you should probably use it. So anyway, that's it. That ends this build. This has been fun, and I'm really looking forward to seeing this fly. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in whatever comes next. See you then.